Good luck, Harry Potter.
Harry Potter is one of my all-time favorite franchises. I grew up with this series to an extreme point, including the fact that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. Then a year or so later, I began reading the books, and it steadfastly became one of the most crucial elements of my childhood. I played the games, I bought the Legos. There's nothing that has more nostalgia connected with it corresponding to me than Harry Potter. So this summer, I'm going back through all of the books, all of the movies, many of the games, play with the Legos, even rewatch the fan musicals. Except Cursed Child, because it sucks all the balls. And I refuse to count it as canon. And you bet your ass I'm going to review all of these as well. A really sorry bet, because you're watching this video right now. Cough up, loser. No, really, about $300. The entire new line of Harry Potter Legos out.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I 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 need it!
Seeing I have such a tremendous attachment to this franchise, you may think it may be really hard for me to critique it. Nah, not really. The 12th or 13th time you read these books, you're bound to notice little issues, and some of the installments I like very much less than the others. I still like them though. For these reviews, I'll be reviewing all the books and the films jointly. This isn't a nitpicky analysis of what was changed or left out of the books. I honestly don't care one bit about that. Novels and cinema are vastly different mediums. I will judge each on their own merits, with separate scores and everything. There will be a little bit of comparison involved, because why not? If everyone's ready, choke down your vomit-flavored beans and get ready for an asshole to talk some Harry Potter.
I'm sick of summer and this waiting around. Man, it's September and I'm skipping this town. Hey, it's no mystery, there's nothing here for me now. I gotta get back to home.
In case you are wondering, I am a Gryffindor, the house of the good guys. So, we're starting off with the first one in the series, because that's the best place to start. The most superficial element everyone likes to drone on about this installment, especially the British, is the change of the title, from Philosopher's Stone to Sorcerer's Stone when it came over here to the US. And honestly, I could not care less either way. Note how the title of this video nicely accommodates both of you, so you can shut the hell up about it. I grew up with Sorcerer's Stone, due to being based on the US and, living here my whole life, but it could be called either for all I care. It could be called Harry Potter and the School for Magic for all I care. Seeing that was an element about both the book and the movie, I can actually get into talking about the two as individuals. Published in 1997, there aren't many critiques I can carry to the first novel of J.K. Rowling's series. It honestly started off everything about as smoothly as it could have. There's not too much brought up in the narrative that is vastly essential to the franchise as a whole, but that's perfectly fine. The book's main goal is to introduce everything to the viewer, the world, the locations, the characters, all of which are well rendered enough to attach to the reader instantly. It's the shortest of the entire series, coming in around 300 pages, so of course there isn't as much detail poured into the story as the next books would. But again, it feels right for the placement within the series. At this point, it's just a fun kids adventure. There's no need for the complexity of later books. For here, first novel, J.K. Rowling killed it. There's a reason that her writing swept the world, inviting kids to get into reading for the first time. There's a way that the book flows that just makes it really easy to read, yet you feel like you accomplished something by reading it. I mean, I got through it at age 4, just when I was learning to read. If I did have an issue with this book is that it's too short for certain elements to be completely fleshed out. Though I honestly think this is just a retrospective viewpoint, seeing that the later books were so ridiculously long and poured into so much detail. This opening book is light and breezy, exactly what it needed to be. Seeing that there are that many discernible changes from this book to the film, I'll wrap this up right now. I can talk about elements of the plot more in the film section, as both are essentially the same. Nitpicks aside, and I don't care about those. My rating for this as a book is a solid 9 out of 10. When looking at this as a film, there's one huge element I really have to take into account, and that is... As I said, it was the first film I ever saw in a theater, and that's something that most assuredly will leave an impression on a 3-year-old. I was enveloped in all the creativity and hard work putting into making imaginative work such as this. I really have to work hard to squish all of the nostalgia and try to actually notice major issues with this movie. And honestly, I was trying as hard as I could to find huge problems that actually mattered with this movie on the rewatch, and they just aren't there. This movie is quite simply a classic in the children's adventure genre, something that deserves to be held in the same account as movies such as E.T. the Extraterrestrial and The Goonies. Is it perfect? No. That's definitely not the best in the entire franchise. But what it did is not to be forgotten. This and Lord of the Rings were something that reinvigorated the fantasy genre. Sure, Fellowship was more adult and ambitious, but the childlike innocence of the first Harry Potter attached itself to children worldwide in 2001. The big thing that people like to jump on in this movie is to criticize are the child performances, and I personally couldn't care less. Bad kid acting can bother me in plenty of movies, but in here, even when they aren't performing their best, there's something so innately charming about the kids that it just doesn't matter. You can say that Emma Watson is overemphasizing each syllable, but she's so damn cute it doesn't matter. And honestly, I think it kind of works for the character of Hermione because she's sort of a bossy know-it-all. Same for pretty much everyone else in this acting category. You got all the kid actors over here being adorable, then you got the adult British thespians strutting about showing their expertise. It's basically a metaphor for their characters. The kids are starting both their magical journey and their learning to act, while their magical teachers who are well versed in their subject are brought to life by professionals of acting. And over the course of the series, you see both the abilities the characters exhibit improve along with their acting skills. Chris Columbus was a great choice for this film, and some might call him too simple or too safe. As Daniel Radcliffe have said, they needed someone to provide a solid foundation before they could switch things up, and the first 2 Potter films are as solid as you can get. First off, one of the big things I have to say in this area, our design of Hogwarts is incredible. The magnificent first shot of the students going across the lake to see the marvelous visage of Hogwarts Castle still gives me chills to this day. Things like the set design of Hogwarts, the costumes, and any of the practical creatures or effects are generally fantastic. What does not hold up, however, is the early 2000s CGI. I know it's sort of a dumb complaint, seeing that the effects are usually really dated, but I'm still going to judge when a film relies so heavily on them at a time where I just don't think the capability is quite there. More practical stuff is always better. There's some places in the Quidditch sequences when watching this on high definition Blu-ray that just looks like characters from a PS2 game have been placed in. CGI, people, is usually a pretty bad idea. But in total, these aren't things that bother me significantly. For the most part, it still works, mostly thanks to the real driving force that makes this movie so good. Dozens of things that make J.K. Rowling's writing so immersive, but something that really drives it story to story is the way she weaves her narratives with mystery. There's something always going on that behind the surface that makes a reader and in the film's case, a viewer, that have their eyes glued to the page or the screen. The big mystery in this first one isn't exactly one that's immensely tied into the other books. What it mainly did was set the template for how our trio of wizard detectives crack the case. It lays out the secrets and the hints throughout, and it's always intriguing to see how they work it out. But what's most compelling in the entire series is watching Harry unravel the mysteries about himself. He starts off in Sorcerer's Stone only knowing what his aunt and uncle want him to know. His parents are a distant thing in the past he will never know anything about, until Hagrid arrives to let him know that there's something more out there.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
A wizard. And a thumping good one, I'd wager, once you trade up a little.
And Hagrid is honestly one of the best things about this series, because in this case, Harry learns that there are kind, loving people in a world which he has yet to know friendship. There's also genuine emotion with the journey of self-discovery that Harry embarks on. I still tear up when Harry sees his parents' faces for the first time in the Mirror of Erised. But it all comes together with the theme that J.K. infused the entire narrative of this franchise with: love. You can call it cheesy, but it works so well as the underpinnings of what's most important to hold on to, as you can see with how the villain of Voldemort is laid out, and it just builds up more and more and so well throughout the entire series. But all these experiences of emotion, mystery, and magic would be nothing in this movie without the final ingredient in this potion of imagination. And it goes back to the man I made this similar point with in my Star Wars review. The music in all the Harry Potters works magnificently thanks to that John Williams work. He really is a genius, and basically every single theme, leitmotif, and even tiny little pieces of music are ingrained into my brain. I listened to the soundtrack so much as a kid. Hedwig's theme was really the perfect embodiment of what this series needed as a musical voice, and it's always effective when used throughout all of the 8 films. And so many of the other themes that he introduces in this one, especially this really, really emotional one that's just so sweeping, that plays at the end of the first 2 movies, is something that I think is actually a really underrated moment. In conclusion, this movie is flawed, but in all the right ways that don't stop it from being a kid's classic. I'm going to have to give Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone a 9 out of 10. Basically the same as the book. Up next, I shall analyze Chamber of Secrets. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below with your thoughts on the first Potter film, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you feel sufficiently inclined.